For many years, all the men who go down to the sea in ships, sailors, fishermen, garbage scow captains, have heard and repeated the story of the legendary whaling whale, Maybe Dick. Maybe Dick was supposed to be big enough to swallow a whole ship. Maybe. He could swim faster than any vessel in the sea. Maybe. And he had been seen by sailors whose reputations for sobriety were beyond reproach. Maybe. Yes, for centuries, Maybe Dick has been a shadowy terror for all seafaring men.
Pretty exciting, eh, Rock?
Oh, that's just an old wives' tale, Bullwinkle.
Old wives with whiskers?
I mean, it's just make-believe.
Make-believe?
Sure. There's no such thing as a whaling whale.
Well, if you can't believe what you read in the comic books, what can you believe?
Oh, Bullwinkle.
It's enough to destroy a young moose's faith.
Oh, come on. There just couldn't be such a thing.
It'd sure make a good premise for a story, though.
And it might at that, because at that moment, 3,000 miles away from Frostbite Falls, a Navy scout plane was flying over the Atlantic Ocean.
Hey, Commander, there's a raft.
A raft of what?
A life raft down there.
Sure enough, far below, a tiny figure was waving violently. A Navy vessel dashed to the rescue, and in a little while, the white-haired survivor was telling his story to a group of officers.
It was terrible, terrible. Look what it's done to me. I'm a wreck.
I think you survived pretty well for a man your age, sir.
My age? I'm 22 years old.
And the castaway told his horrifying story. It seems that just a few days ago, he had been the young, vigorous captain of a fishing boat. Then one afternoon, he suddenly heard a strange sound.
Hey, Cap, what's that noise?
What noise?
That mournful wail.
Maybe it's a mournful whale. But the captain had guessed far better than he knew, for at that moment a huge shape hove into view.
Cap, he's gonna swallow us.
And as the frantic seaman leaped overboard, the gargantuan whale did swallow the entire boat in one bite. Or at any rate, that was the castaway's story.
What do you think we ought to do, Commander Binnacle?
I think we ought to give this story the same consideration we do to any new idea.
Yes, sir.
And so in a short time, the unfortunate castaway was safely ensconced in the Happy Hatch.
But I tell you, there was a whaling whale. Why won't they believe me?
Ha! They won't even believe me. And you know I never lie.
Why? Who are you?
George Washington.
That might have been the end of the whole episode if it weren't that the next day, 3 more ships disappeared.
Liners lost as whales. Maybe Dick strikes again.
The Navy immediately sent out a fleet of destroyers. They disappeared without a trace. That did it. People by the thousands canceled their sailing plans. So did the ship's crews. The shipping industry was on the verge of ruin. Then that great shipping magnate, Pericles Parnassus, came up with his great idea.
American people are loving fishing, right?
Yes, sir.
They will fishing for anything, right?
Yes, sir.
Then we offer it free boat and tackle to anyone who will fish for Maybe Dick.
Come, sir. Do you think there's a nitwit anywhere in the world stupid enough to take you up on that offer?
Gentlemen, as old philosopher once said, de gustibus non disputandum.
What does that mean?
There's a sucker born every minute.
Of course, Pericles Parnassus published his fabulous fishing offer, and of course there was no one in the country stupid enough to take him up on such a harebrained scheme.
Except...
Oh, no. Will Rocky and Bullwinkle really try to go after Maybe Dick all by themselves? We'll find out next time in Vagabond Voyage or The Cast-Off's Cast-Off.
Once upon a time, in a castle high on a hill, lived a rather peculiar king and his beautiful but unmarried daughter. The knights of the kingdom were always seeking the daughter's hand in marriage, which annoyed the king very much. So he consulted with the royal contractor and ordered him to build a mountain of glass. That's right, smooth, shiny glass. Then, with a derrick, he had his daughter hoisted carefully into the air and placed on top of the glass mountain with a golden apple in her hand. Any suitor who could get to the top would gain the hand of the princess and the golden apple. But let's face it, that was going to be a pretty impossible thing to do. But our story is about an enchanted frog, remember? This frog's name was Filbert, and he lived with his mother and brother, Frank, in the forest. Every evening, all the animals would come to hear the frogs sing their song.
There's a little little frog in all of us, in all of us, in all of us. There's a little little frog in all of us, no matter who you be.
My, they were a very happy family, until one day when Filbert started to grow. He grew, and he grew, and he grew, until he was the world's only 5'8" frog.
But this means I'm not a frog at all, but an enchanted prince. I'm just afraid you'll have to carry on as a duet instead of a trio, for I must seek my fortune in the outside world. You do understand, don't you, Mama? I am an enchanted prince.
You're a big fat frog who has grown too big for his pond, that's what you are. It's a frog-eat-frog existence in the outside world, Filbert.
Oh, what do you know about it, Mama? After all, you're just a frog. You don't understand royalty.
And so Filbert made his way to the outside world.
Pardon me.
Oh, my goodness, a 5'8" frog.
But I'm not a frog. I'm an enchanted prince. Just because I'm green all over and...
And so, with a brand new suit of clothes, Filbert continued on his way. All this time, the princess had been sitting patiently at the top of a mountain of glass. She still had plenty of suitors, but the mountain was as slippery as ice, remember? And getting to the top was a difficult task indeed. In fact, there were those who claimed it was well nigh impossible. Still, a princess and a golden apple aren't to be sneezed at, so the suitors kept on trying. But they really weren't very good at it.
That king is a nut. It just can't be done.
Oh, I don't know.
Who are you, stranger? And what are you hiding with that false face?
This isn't a false face. It's my face.
Nonsense! You're up to something. After him, men!
And the knights chased Filbert around the mountain, first clockwise, then counterclockwise, then both ways at once. There was nowhere to go but up. So up Filbert went.
Oh, brave prince, at last you've come. Now I can leave this cold mountain of glass. Remove your false face so that I might see the hero who rescued me. What's that on with, glue?
But, fair lady, this is my real face.
It is? My father's a nut. He has me sit up here in all kinds of weather, waiting for what? Some frog-faced knight. You can have the golden apple, but I'm leaving.
And the princess leaped off the mountain of glass and fell directly into the arms of the royal contractor who'd been waiting for just this chance. The happy pair ran off to get married. When the king saw what had happened, he was furious. Not only had a mere frog conquered his mountain of glass, but his daughter had run off with a commoner.
I want that frog shot at sunrise.
Uh-oh.
So poor Filbert was sent to the king's dungeon to await the firing squad.
Oh, dear, this is a frog-eat-frog world.
He thought of those happy days when he was just a plain frog, sitting in the sun, playing, singing, jumping.
Jumping! That's it!
The next morning, at sunrise, Filbert was led out to the wall.
Ready! Aim! Fire! By George, men, we obliterated him. There's nothing left of him but his blinking clothes.
Meanwhile, back at the forest, Filbert's mother and brother were waiting sadly. Suddenly, they heard a familiar sound that came closer and closer.
That's Filbert!
Hiya, Mom!
So, Filbert found it was really better to be a big frog in a small pond than a small frog on a big mountain. And besides, who can eat golden apples?
last time, you remember, the world's shipping industry was being destroyed by that whaling whale, Moby Dick, who engulfed whole ocean liners in one big bite. A fleet of Navy destroyers was sent to destroy him, but disappeared without a trace, except... Of course, people canceled their sailing plans, crews deserted their ships, even the rats got off. Things looked very black. Everyone was worried.
Not everyone.
Who are you?
I'm president of an airline. Boom!
As a last-ditch measure, the famous shipping tycoon Pericles Parnassus offered a free fishing boat and fishing tackle to anyone who would go after Moby Dick. Of course, there was no one stupid enough to fall for that.
Of course not.
No one dim-witted enough to take him up on such a crafty scheme.
He can't fool me.
No.
He's got to supply the bait, too.
Oh, dear. A week later, Rocky was surprised when two burly men knocked at his door.
You Rocket J. Squirrel?
Yeah.
You Bullwinkle Moose?
Me, Bullwinkle. Who, you?
Me come. I'm from Parnass.
Mighty pretty country around there. Once they was...
That's Pericles Parnassus.
And this is Frostbite Falls, Minnesota.
It's a dead standoff, all right.
Oh, you gonna play it cozy, are you?
They're chicken and out, Benson.
Who's chicken? Who's chicken?
Then you will go fishing for Moby Dick, huh?
You better tell your story to Mr. Parnassus, bud.
Rocky.
Rocky.
And so a few days later, Rocky and Bullwinkle stood before the most powerful shipping magnate in the world.
But you already signed the application. You got it to go.
No, we don't got it to go.
You got it to go.
For a powerful magnet, you don't pick up things very fast.
Look at it this way. It's for the good of your country.
My country?
It's for freedom of the seas.
Freedom?
For the little people everywhere.
All them midgets, huh?
It's for home and mother.
Mother? Count me in.
Well...
Plus big reward.
Sold!
And in a little while, our heroes were aboard the good ship Athabasco.
You feeling seasick, Bullwinkle?
No, I always turn green this time of year.
Well, if you think this is bad, Bullwinkle,
Yeah?
just wait till we cast off.
Goodbye, Rocky.
Bye,
Bullwinkle.
I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you.
Who are you?
I'm from the Bide-A-Wee funeral parlor.
Say, who's the captain of this fishing boat, Mr. Parnassus?
Well, Rockabye baby boy kid, you're in luck. We got a genuine retired ex-Navy captain to steer boats for you.
I'd sure like to meet him.
I don't was understood it. He should be up on the bridge right now.
Maybe he's late.
Well, good luck and don't worry. If anything goes wrong, you both got big insurance policies made out to me personally.
Sure is nice of you to take such an interest, Mr. Parnassus.
Well, what are friends for if you can't make a couple of bucks?
You said it. Shake.
But just as Bullwinkle took the tycoon's hand, the boat moved away from the dock.
Uh-oh, we're underway.
Having a good trip, dear Moose.
Same to you, Mr. Parnassus.
But I'm not going it anywhere.
But he was, for when Bullwinkle let go of his hand, Pericles Parnassus dropped into the water. Quickly, Rocky seized a life preserver, zoomed through the air, and made a perfect ringer around the floundering man's head.
You saved him, Rock.
Not quite, for Pericles Parnassus refused to let go of his gloves and walking stick to take hold of the life preserver, and so disappeared from view.
Stand back, stand back. I'll save him.
But Bullwinkle,
You're not the only hero on this show, you know.
I'm the only one that can swim.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it looks like a short trip after all. Be with us next time for Fear on the Pier, or What's Up, Doc?
And now it's time for that man of 1,000 helpful suggestions, Mr. Know-It-All.
Thank you, and hello, man of 1,000 helpful suggestions lovers everywhere. Today we are taking up the problem of how to disarm a live 5,000 megaton TNT bomb in your own workshop in your spare time to amuse your friends. Or just yourself, even. First and surest fire is the hairpin technique, which requires 1, a common hairpin, and 2, a common bomb. This method, when employed by an expert professional bomb disarmer, is 100% safe. 99% anyway. For the beginner, it is often more satisfying to work with a smaller bomb, or a teeny, as the professionals call it. Next, it is important to be able to detect the bomb before disarming it. One would think it would be this object because of the ticking sound, but obviously that's just to throw one off. Likewise with these two objects, but here, cleverly disguised as a bomb, is a bomb. And thus, another nasty scene has been averted by...
Gosh, Mr. Know-It-All, what happened? I was about to tell you your time is almost up.
Throw it away! Get rid of it! Run for your life! Lucky I got my own watch. Taking no chances. Now, where's that match? Oh, yes. I think it said 5:15.
Hello out there, Peabody here. Today, Sherman and I are going back to the year 1900.
What was happening then, Mr. Peabody?
Oh, quite a number of things, Sherman, but we shall concentrate on a gentleman named John Holland, who invented one of the first submarines. We entered the Wayback Machine and were immediately transported to a dock just off Long Island Sound. At the end of the pier floated an ungainly-looking object. As we neared it, a hatch suddenly popped open, and up came John Holland.
If you're from the Navy Department, you may as well go home. My submarine is a failure.
What do you mean, a failure? Won't it run?
Oh, it runs all right, but not like a submarine. Watch.
Reaching below, Holland started the engine, then pulled the lever which caused the submarine to dive underwater. However, this submarine did just the opposite.
Golly, Mr. Peabody, he's got a helicopter.
Turning off the power, Holland returned to the surface.
That's my problem. I'm supposed to test this ship for the Navy, but they'll never buy it if it won't go underwater.
What time is the Navy supposed to be here?
2.
Then we haven't much time. Quickly, we'll search for rocks.
Rocks?
Ballast, Mr. Holland. If we can get enough weight into your helicopter...
Submarine.
Oh, sorry. Why, then it will descend. Thanks to the rock-bound Atlantic coast, we procured all the ballast we needed. The submarine went under. And so did the pier, and so did Sherman and I. Heavy rocks they have in these parts. Holland surfaced his craft, took us aboard, and drove into shore. And who should be standing there but 2 admirals from the Navy Department?
Ahoy there, Holland. Get ready for a trial run. Keep underwater for exactly 1 hour and we'll buy your ship.
John Holland insisted that Sherman and I go with him, and we agreed, knowing, of course, it would make a better story.
I'm all set to pull the descent lever. Hope she goes down and not up.
She will. And she did. We reached 30 fathoms in nothing flat.
Mr. Holland, is your sub always as wet as this?
Oh, gracious me, I must have left the tub running.
What he really did was leave the hatch open. By the time I closed it, we were practically waterlogged.
Never fear, I'll have this water out of here in a jiffy.
With that, Holland rushed to the nearest porthole, opened it, and began bailing at a breakneck pace.
Mr. Holland, sir, I think more water's coming in than out.
Sherman was right. It was up to me to solve the problem. In the sub's galley, I came across 14 old tea kettles. I didn't bother to question their value, but instead set them to curting on the stove.
Are we having tea, Mr. Peabody?
No, we're having steam. Inside of 30 minutes, I had boiled away every drop of ocean in the sub.
It's getting late. We better surface or else we'll miss the Navy's deadline.
Sherman and I both agreed, but the submarine didn't. It wouldn't budge.
I'm giving her all she's got. You'd think that something was sitting on us.
A most accurate assumption. Something was using us for a chair. The largest and most ferocious-looking octopus I'd ever seen.
Let's face it, we're trapped.
Don't you worry, Mr. Holland. Mr. Peabody will get rid of that octopus.
What do you think I am, Sherman? Marine land? I puzzled over the problem for what must have been a good 3 seconds, and then acted without hesitation. I need a fishbowl and a fountain pen.
The fishbowl I can understand, but a fountain pen?
You're gonna ride underwater?
Something like that. I inverted the fishbowl, wore it over my head like a diver's helmet. Then, with the fountain pen in hand, I opened the hatch, climbed out, and marched forward to meet my adversary.
Be careful, Mr. Peabody.
Yes, that's the only pen I've got.
The octopus glowered and came at me. Then, instead of attacking, he produced 8 tennis balls and proceeded to juggle. I knew that in order for us to get away, I must prove myself superior to him in every way. I borrowed the tennis balls, added 3 clams and the lobster, and juggled right back at him. Needless to say, he became quite infuriated. Now, an infuriated octopus invariably blinds his victims with an inky fluid. Then he attacks. Before he could do so, I aimed my fountain pen and let him have a 1-week supply of indelible ink right between the eyes. I had beaten him to the draw.
Congratulations, Mr. Holland. You surfaced at exactly the prescribed time. The Navy will buy your submarine.
And so, as Sherman and I watched from the shore, the admirals sailed the submarine away. As for John Holland, he wasted no time in moving to a beach in New Jersey, where he constructed a submarine 9,000 feet long.
9,000 feet long? He must have sunk.
It did. And so he merely cut off both ends and made a tunnel out of it.
Really, Mr. Peabody?
Well, of course. You've heard of the Holland Tunnel, haven't you?
This sumptuous hall is the boardroom of the World Shipping Council. These sad-faced men are the biggest men in the shipping industry, and this chart is the reason they look so glum. Here is the level of world shipping just a few weeks ago. Here is the date on which the whaling whale, Maybe Dick, began to swallow boats in one gulp, and here is the level of shipping today.
To use an old nautical term, gentlemen, we're sunk.
But a short distance away, Rocky and Bullwinkle have taken on the fearsome job of fishing for Maybe Dick in a boat supplied by Pericles Parnassus, the great shipping potentate. Unfortunately, as they were saying goodbye, the boat moved away from the dock, and Pericles fell into the water. Rocky made a bullseye on him with a life preserver, but he refused to let go of his cane and gloves to take it and sank immediately. Bullwinkle went to his rescue, forgetting in his haste that he couldn't swim.
Bullwinkle!
Downward the moose plunged, and as luck would have it, plummeted right through the center of the life preserver, or almost right through. Actually, he stuck halfway. Desperately, Bullwinkle wigwagged with his feet. While on board the ship, Rocky wrote down what he sent.
S-A-V-E-M-E. Savim? That doesn't make sense.
And Rocky tore the message in half. Fortunately, he happened to glance down at it again before throwing it away.
Save me! Aha, that's the message.
And in a trice, the quick-witted squirrel zoomed from the boat to a nearby crane. Grabbing the hook, he flashed back to Bullwinkle and lassoed his legs. In just a moment, the waterlogged moose was being drawn slowly out of the water.
Did you get Mr. Parnassus, Bullwinkle?
No! I got his walking stick, though. Sure is a heavy thing, too.
Small wonder, for as the other end of the walking stick came into view, Pericles Parnassus was still hanging on to it.
Bullwinkle, you saved him.
How about that now?
Gee, how did you ever manage to get into that little ring?
What bothers me is, how am I going to manage to get out of it?
Meanwhile, back at the boardroom...
Then it's settled, gentlemen. Next week we all become television producers.
I thought we were all going to commit suicide together.
It's the same thing, what?
But the fleet owners were spared that terrible fate.
Hold your heads, gentle people. I got it good news tonight.
What is it,
Tell us,
Parnassus?
tell us,
Tell us
tell us,
about it.
I just sent Rocky and Bullwinkle to catch Maybe Dick.
Oh. What's so good newsy about that? They'll just be swallowed up like all the rest.
But look at the boat I sent them on.
Looks like any other boat to me. Maybe Dick will swallow it, too.
Of course, and look what he swallows.
I say, the ship's full of TNT.
You said it, sport. So when the whale swallows in the boat, kaboom! No ifs, ands, or Maybe Dicks. What about the squirrel and the moose? Gentlemen, to get rid of Maybe Dick, no price is too high to pay.
Yeah.
Especially if somebody else pays it.
All unaware that their ship was a regular living bomb, our heroes stood at the rail waving farewell to the Statue of Liberty as they passed Bedloe's Island.
She's not waving back.
You wouldn't want her to drop the torch, would you?
Yeah, that's right.
Gee, Bullwinkle, I wonder when we'll see her again.
Well, if you'll just look on the other side of the boat, you'll get a nice view.
Sure enough, the boat had swung in a full circle and was heading back where they came from.
What's the matter with that captain anyway?
Maybe he forgot his driver's license.
I don't think he even has one, Bullwinkle.
Yes, the good ship Athabasco weaved in a strange manner and at last headed straight for the Statue of Liberty.
We're gonna crash, Rocky!
Full speed astern, Captain!
Yeah, wherever you are!
But even our heroes didn't know the full extent of their trouble, for that boat, remember, is chock full of high explosive. Don't miss our next episode, TNT for two or Fright Cargo.